Good afternoon. Welcome back. My name is Passakon. I'm the MC and moderator of this session. So please make sure you are coming to the light room. This is a track B. Topic is IoT security on cloud. So make sure we have two parallel sessions. Okay. I will be the moderators and the MC. So let's start. Okay. We have three panelists in these sessions. So let's be introduced one by one, starting from อาจารย์สุสงวนนะครับอาจารย์สุสงวนงามสุริยโรจน์นะครับ Please welcome. อาจารย์สุสงวน is a faculty of ICT Mahidol University. And the next speaker, let me introduce Dr.Panita Pongpaibool. Please welcome him. Dr. Panita is a researcher of NECTEC. NECTEC is a research institute, and she is the one that in the team of NetPi. NetPi is the IoT platform. It's our Thai platform. It's a protocol for the messaging. She will tell in the detail later. And next, Mr.Supparat Sivapetchranat Singhara Ayutthaya. Please welcome. She is the Chief Products and Technology Officer from True Internet Data Center. So let's move to the stage, please. So the panelists asked me why we have to speak in English. So I want to vote. So I don't know how many audience here need English. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, anyway, we will proceed in English. No problem. Thank you. So, okay, the topic today is IoT security on cloud. In the mornings, Mr. Supparat, he the keynote speaker in the morning, had already mentioned about the security on the cloud. But this afternoon, we will be focusing on the IoT, Internet of Things. Anyway, we will begin with Dr. อาจารย์สุสงวน ครับ She will give us the background นะครับ of the IoT securities, any kind of the protocol standard or any concern นะครับ So let's start with อาจารย์สุสงวน
Okay. Why they solving the problem on the projector? This is just giving you examples on the IoT devices, and I think everyone right now know, especially if you are in IT, like on the CCTV, home appliance, printer, cars, garage door, the transportation, medical devices, and actually this is like all the. I would like to show that the applications on IoT. Now. Okay. So I'm not sure I have to click twice or. Okay. It seems that. Okay. Now let's look at in terms of the fundamentals, what the communication that happened. So in this, since the IoT is a device that can send data or receive data or both. So from the device, you can have the data going out or coming down here to the device or both sides, right? Both ways. So the data can be one way, two way, can be real time. That means the data is like sending out all the time, almost like every millisecond, not second, millisecond. And like occasion, data is not really you can polling the data. And then the data can be unicast, can be broadcast. It can be one to one, one to many. So many variety of data format that can send or receive from the device. Okay. Now, if you look at what the data have been moved, right? So the moving is on from the device going out is we're using the term publish, right? Sorry, it seems that it doesn't. Okay. Okay. So, and you can subscribe the data, right, from the IoT device, and then you can send the data to device. Why we need that, and we talk about that later. And the device can be online, can be offline, and is the message, the data that on the device is sent out. Usually, we put into message, and there are message protocol a lot about it. And the message has to send it out through channel. What channel you talking about? And variety of data is mean like data stream, how we handle it. So the security will be from the device, go out to the message, go to channel, go to data stream, and then go to network, and then go to cloud or mobile. So that will be, maybe talk about it later on. Okay. So most of us talking about the IoT that connect to IP, TCP/IP. Okay, but there are some the IoT that doesn't have IP, right? So they can connect to another protocol, or even the network that not like RFID, and maybe you know about LoRa, right? So those devices may have hardware, software. They have their own system. Then and IP is another one, so another set. So we're talking about connectivity of IoT device. Okay. Okay. So even that let's look at the IoT limitation that will affect how we going to put the security on IoT, right? So there are many varieties. So diversity of device a lot. Capability of device range from small one to, and like Raspberry Pi is kind of like a computer, right? So we have many capacities, wide range, standard, not many people talking about it. Connectivity protocol, a lot, I will show it later. And programming environment, okay? Another thing that may make us scary, like the many devices store personal data, like healthcare, right? Like I have Fitbit here. I not really have a sponsor of Fitbit, but it's my heart rate thing, right? So the healthcare data is on those devices. But IoT devices are not crypto engine. So they not really have a lot of power to do encryption for you, okay? So that makes us very difficult to put security in there in terms of, okay, we put encryption, that it may not, it's hard to do. And IoT device have finite life. It's not really last long. It's not like your servers. It takes years, right? 5 years, 10 years, but IoT device doesn't have a long lifetime. So if you need to put credential in there, it's going to be a problem tied to what lifetime. So that's the limitation, okay? Application, a lot. And we are in open areas. We not really have a lot of standard. We don't have a lot of mechanism. We still a long way to go. So they have high potential of threat and attacks. Okay. Okay. So let's talk briefly about compare cybersecurity and IoT security. Cybersecurity focus on the security of network. We know that system, data, and application right now. I'm not talking about application domain. And mostly it's connect to TCP/IP protocol, and we know. IoT is focused on we call cyber physical system. It's not just software or network, it's including hardware, sensors. And it's not necessarily connect to the internet. And right now, many varieties. So it's gonna be some problem for us. Okay, this is sample attack. So what attacks that can happen to the IoT system? Tech control. The control for that you put into the device, the car or anything, you can put malware into your refrigerator that have IoT. So you take control of those devices. Actually, there is a very good video that you can take controls of a car. And even they control the brake. Even you put the brake, but the brake doesn't work. Actually, this is the video, very interesting. And even you can take on drone. Okay, so this is the contact control. Now, you can steal information, even on the car or anything that have IoT device as a point of access. And you can disrupt service. Okay. Now the disrupt service, this is example. If you have Mirai or Mirai, but I don't know Japanese. So Mirai is meaning the future in Japanese. And so if the attack that happen, so they compromise control server, they perform man-in-the-middle attack, they corrupt the firmware, they hack to default password, and using telnet or SSH, and also hacking device to open ports. So actually all of these we know that's the same as cyber security attack. Okay? And so this is the IoT device that have insecure chipset, compromised OS, poor authentication, vulnerable firmware. So, and all those devices become a bot. And they attack a lot of devices. So we have a lot of bots, it become botnets. And that launch the DDoS attack. And the bandwidth of attack is go up to 600 megabit per second something. So it's very huge DDoS attack, okay, in the history. So that's the example, one example. Okay, you may see this one. Actually, the picture is not clear. So I can show you so usually we have the system, right? And the IoT can be attacked from usually all of this, right? So this is the edge device, and it's go to network, go to platform, and this is going to be, it depends on what domain you're talking about. So actually the difference in the cyber security and IoT security is depend on what device you use in that system and what platform you use, what network you use. So that means it have to be integrated with the cybersecurity. Okay. And so we have challenge. I make some lists here. First one, the device is unprotected. If it's unprotected, like if it's not behind the firewall, for example, most devices that we have now behind the firewall protect on those devices, right? So the firewall have to work really hard to protect our PC. Now, how we protect IoT devices. Do we need encryption? And this is the big question. Data stream, do you have access control? Who can access those data? What do we have security policy to control the access? Do we have secure communication? The firmware update, how we update firmware on those devices. Right? That's what we're talking about, how we put the data to the device. If the device have software, do we have a patch? How we update the patch on those devices. And I'm not talking about compliance because I think it's still too far at this point. But I think there are some effort to do it. But I may not know. So this is, maybe we're talking about trust. If we have a trust system, then probably we don't need any security control, right? Okay. So, and authentication, that also identify who can access. Now, this is a list of protocol that I found. So, we not try to fit everything here. So, from the infrastructure protocol on IPv4, IPv6, and then probably Dr. Panita talking about IPv6 on IoT device, SIGLOPAN, identification, communication, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, LPWAN, discovery, DNS, MDNS, DNSSD, data protocol message. We're talking about message protocol, MQTT, and CoAP, AMQP. So this is the list of protocol that's working now. Device management, semantic. Are you using JSON or something else, right? And have multi-layer framework. So there are many protocols involved. Okay. So why we need cloud? Actually, slide should say that, right? Why we need cloud? The IoT have some limitation, as you know, but the limitation is the first one, low power, right? We usually we have battery or even like some, I don't know, how you put the power, otherwise it's not working. Low computation is not really GPU computation, right? Is probably lower than that, much lower than our PC right now. Small storage, actually I put question mark there because actually storage right now is very huge. You can probably put a large SD card in there, okay? Lightweight protocol, since the performance is not really that high, the protocol should not have a lot of overhead, so then you have to be lightweight. You have to be lightweight. So we need the cloud for computation. We need a cloud for storage. We need a cloud for if we want to do analysis. We cannot do analysis on the IoT device. It's too much, right? Okay. Actually, I have students try to put everything in a Raspberry Pi, putting Linux, web server, Apache, putting database on Raspberry Pi. So when it process, it takes minutes, not seconds. Okay. So we have to change that. Okay. So this is a very good idea for putting security on IoT and connect to cloud. So from this, from user to devices, we need to secure device. how we secure device. And from device, we have to send the message to the gateway. Now, gateway may be just a network, just the common network that we have. And we need to secure message, right? Now, from the gateway, we send from the gateway to have secure communication to send to cloud. We need to have secure connection, right? From the cloud to application, we need to secure the application itself. The cloud itself have to be secure. And so this picture is mean if we want end-to-end security, okay? Another diagram, this is from Microsoft, okay, is IoT security architecture. And it's the architecture divided to zone. They're using the term zones. And the zone starting with local zone that I have here, local zone on the user, right? This one on the device zone, and then go to field gateway zone from the device. This may connect to many device zone, right? And then from this, you send to cloud. You have cloud gateway zone, and then to the gateway, this one starting to connect to the application, and then have to go to service zone. And finally, to the end user, you have remote user zone. So this is the idea to put into zone. So you can secure each zone separately. Okay. This one actually is from a paper on IEEE Communication Magazine just this year, Jan 2017. And similar idea, they divide into sensing layer. Sensing layer consists of multiple sensors and have the data sensing and collection protocol. So they have this one, then it's connect to cloud, and then it's included into the network layer. From network layer, go to application protocol, and that be part of application layer. So it depends on what domain, what IoT device that you have, and how to link to those domains. And from this, you're gonna have, like from the cloud, then you can have multiple groups that linking to the cloud and also to the IO device. So the cloud will be the center of collecting everything. So this is like 3 pictures that I can see like in terms of architecture that we need to put into the IoT. Okay, so the issue, this is from the paper. We're talking about identity privacy. Okay, identity means maybe node address, node ID, or IP address. It depends on how you connect the device. Location, privacy, you need that too. Node compromise attack. So you need to have, if the attack is happening to the node, and the node have been compromised. So this is the issue that you need to address. Layer removing. Layer removing is mean if you connect directly, you remove the middleman in between. Do we need to secure that channel the same as we used to be? So the mechanism has to be changed. We also have to worry about forward and backward secrecy. What does it mean? If you add the new member should not see the old one. If an old member leave the group, that old member should not see the new message. So this is what we call forward and backward secrecy. Okay. And so if you have, say, okay, you have the cloud and have semi-trust or even the malicious cloud, it's not really fully trusted cloud. You have to worry about the input privacy. Who should see your input? who should see your output and the function that working inside in the cloud. Okay, so that's the issue. And how we do assessment. Assessment is mean we evaluate the security of IoT. Begin with the web interface. Okay, network service. So what service you have on the network that connect to the IoT? Do we open all ports, or we just have only one port open? Okay, so this is concern similar, actually similar issue with the cyber security. Secure transport medium. Okay, you link to mobile. If you link to mobile, how you secure the mobile? And if you link to the cloud, how you secure that cloud? This is going to be the big problem. Insecure software or firmware. How we sure that the software that we running on the IoT device or all the components that connect to the IoT device is the good software. It's not really have malicious in there, or someone just plug in your something, the malware in there. And physical security. Okay. Now, I have to talk about this because actually OWASP has, is there anyone here know OWASP? More people don't know. Okay, OWASP is Open Web Application Security Project. Okay, it's a community. Okay, it's a community group that try to like set up a guidelines or even ranking the threat that happen in cybersecurity, and actually focus on application security. So on OWASP have set up the IoT top 10, okay? And I give it the list later, just the next slide. And this is the attack surface area that can happen to the IoT. So it's the same, almost the same as we have from web interface, access control, admin interface, update mechanism, network traffic, mobile app. So you can read this one yourself. So this is the top 10 is in 2014. So they have 10 categories. A1, insecure web interface. A2, this is about insufficient authentication and authorization. So this is we're talking about access control and even the identity. Okay. And F3 will be insecure network services. A4, lack of transport encryption. A5 will be privacy concern. A6, insecure cloud interface. Okay. A7, insecure mobile interface. And A8 is insecure security configuration. And then the A9, insecure software and firmware. And A10, poor physical security. Okay. So I have some example. Okay. On this one is A1, insecure web interface, the attack vector on exploitability, and the prevalent very common, the detectability very easy. So the list is mean if the IoT access from anywhere, can be accessed from anywhere in the world. That happened to Mirai, right? You can access anywhere in the world to the device because it has open port, because they attack on default password, and it attack and use that device as a bot. So the solution, you can do the pen test on the web interface, what we can do. and then redesign the product. We have to probably, if we found some vulnerability, we have to redesign. And this is the news that related. So this is have hacked on security camera. So that's a CCTV, that one of the Mirai bot that happened. Okay, so this one is on insufficient authentication and authorization. So this one, exploitability is average, prevalent common, detectability easy. Again, it can access from anywhere in the world, and there's some leak of data. Okay, and the solution, you can have to do some manual testing, probably review password policy, because this one is about authentication and authorization. So there are some medical devices that have been hacked, okay, and that have been like this is on the Black Hat conference. So attacker can use some default password to launch the service. Okay. Another one that related to cloud. So this one, the exploitability is average, prevalent common, detectability easy. So what happened is the risk will be the leak of data, and you have to do some review on data collection. Okay, and this is the list that the incident that happened. So the data leaks because of even the cloud storage service. Okay. Okay, so that probably almost the last slide. What we can do to protect our IoT. So hardened network, you have to protect the network first, because network is kind of like a stone, something that can help like a block, right, on IoT. Disable remote access to IoT device, okay, and disable or limit protocol usage. Ensure that you open the port that you only need, not really every port. So like SOS, do we need SSH? Do we need Telnet or HTTP port? Okay. You ensure that you have proper network segmentation, that talking about zone, as in on Microsoft. So that will try to reduce the zone. If you have a zone, you reduce the attack surface. The attack surface is kind of like you open the surface, is kind of like something that someone can touch your system. On what point, right? Points mean like, how you say point? Nice. Okay. Okay. So that limit the contamination, right? Okay, and then keep the perimeter intact. That means all the facing the endpoint service, you have to avoid that. Actually, the last slide is probably like the protection in like overview, like have minimum security baseline, implement policy, control access. But actually, I like this one, patch. Just like we have when a client right now, we have to patch, right? So that means all the basic operating system that you run, you should have the one that's secure or have security patch on it. Not really let them expose to everything. So that's not good. So I'm not going to like detail on this. So just this one, you patch early and often. So that's my last slides. Thank you.
Okay, that is a very informative, and we get a lot of knowledge that the IoT is quite different from the legacy system for the internet that we use today. So there's a lot of limitation, a lot of vulnerability. So I think it's a good news because we have more research topics for your students, right? Yeah. So okay, let's now we move to the real experience from Dr. Panita. So Dr. Panita, you are the leader in the IoT protocol called NECTEC. So any concern or from your point of view in the security?
Yes, actually, Ajahn Sudsaguan ended on that patch sentence, right? And I think it's a very good point, but it's a very challenging one. Because, I mean, as she said, all of the vulnerabilities of IoT is the same as the IT security that we are facing today on the computers. I mean, firewall, controlling ports, network security, we all know that, and we do that for our computers already. But IoT give us more challenges in terms of, for example, it's not a big computer, it's just a small microcontroller. It may be smaller than Raspberry Pi. It doesn't have operating system, just a microcontroller. How can you put an antivirus or anti-malware software in there? No way. Like the memory on the microcontroller may be like kilobytes, not even megabytes. Like that one thing. And patch, even if you want to, I mean, of course, it's a good recommendation that we recommend people to, okay, when you create your device, make sure you have some way to patch your firmware, so update your firmware. But then it's challenging because imagine if your device is a sensor, maybe installed on the ceiling or installed in the field. How do you go out and patch them? Okay, you have to do, we call over-the-air update. Okay, the developer has to provide like kind of backdoor for over-the-air update over the internet. That's one thing. It's because it's in a very far-reach place. It's not, nobody is operating it every day, not like a computer. Second one, it lacks user interface. So when you talk about IoT devices, you're talking about microcontroller or like Raspberry Pi, it doesn't have keyboard. It doesn't have monitor. Maybe just a small screen at most, or maybe just one button. You know what I mean? No way to interact, right? So how you patch it or how you update it. If you find that your original code has some vulnerability, okay, you have to like recall them all and come and
The IoT is very variety and
yes, very variety.
When we deploy in the range of 1,000 or
yes,
1,000.
and that's also many devices. So over-the-air update will be a good solution.
Except you have like, EEPROM, you have to burn EEPROM, get the chip and then burn EEPROM. There's no way you can do it.
Yes, so I think three challenges like low CPU power, low memory power, so you cannot do very difficult processing, like maybe it's even very hard to encrypt the communication, no user interface, and there are many of them installed in many places. That's the challenges. And
okay, let me go to Mr. Supparat on behalf of the providers. When you have to treat differently for your customer, if the customer is in the IoT area?
Sure. So first, let me start off by saying thank you for EGA for allowing me to be on the panel. Thank you for my fellow panelists for letting me participate. So in terms of from an enterprise standpoint, let me share maybe about three things, right? So why is security a big focus point for IoT? There's two main reasons first. Okay. First, from a pure commercial standpoint, most of you probably have a Fitbit or Apple Watch and so on and so forth, right? These devices were developed from a commercial standpoint. What does that mean? They want you to buy the devices, right? And as part of a very commercial product development standpoint, security, as the panelists have said, is compromised, okay? Is that an immediate issue? Not yet. Why? So if you have a Fitbit or Apple Watch, the ecosystem that's happening is between your watch and your phone. So from an adoption standpoint, not so much of a big concern yet, okay? But on the enterprise space, right, these security concerns are starting to be addressed, okay? What do I mean by that? So about 2 weeks ago, a BlackBerry came out. So who has used a BlackBerry before? Can you raise your hand? In the past, have you ever used a BlackBerry? Okay. Who is using a BlackBerry today? No. Nobody. But guess what? 2 weeks ago, the stock price of BlackBerry went up by 70%. Do you want to know why? So let's go back about maybe 10, 15 years ago, right? Today, the IoT landscape, in my point of view, is like what email was 15 years ago, okay? There's a desktop, a PC, email. BlackBerry came out with a smart hand device. BlackBerry was successful, why? It wasn't a sexy iPhone, it wasn't an Android, it wasn't an open approach, because of security. So what did BlackBerry announce 2 weeks ago? They're taking their entire 20 years of experience of security and converting all that and productizing it into IoT. So BlackBerry have released a product in the enterprise space for logistics. So what's my message to you, right, from a security standpoint? Security is fundamental in all IT infrastructure, number one, okay? The problems that there's been so much focus on security in the marketplace is because the adoption of IoT, the successful adoption use case, is in the consumer space. In the consumer space, there's less of an issue with security because it's your personal decision, right? It depends on what you put data on your personal device. The enterprise space has already started to take off, okay? With big players that already have the security background, but reposition themselves to take advantage of the current landscape. The challenge that now exists is for the developers, okay? The biggest issues with developers in general for the last 10, 20 years is that developers are not security system network people. They are software developers. So what does that mean? That means that in your organization, if you are running a development team, and if you want to get into the IoT business, the type of people you hire, the way you organize your teams, and how you do auditing and so on and so forth, needs to adapt and change. Otherwise, you will always have a gap in security, okay? So that's the current landscape. My message to you is IoT security is moving much faster than most of us anticipated. Reference point is BlackBerry, 70% stock price increase, because they took their experience and they just productized it, okay? What does the future look like, okay? So Thailand, relative to a mature market in the cloud computing space, is about 5 to 8 years behind in terms of maturity of the architecture today. For a lot of reasons, mostly because of connectivity and the size of the economy, mostly, okay? We had cloud computing, we had IoT. Now both are working together, right? In the enterprise space, you see IoT and cloud working together in logistics, for example, right? In the future, from our perspective within IDC, we see the future state as fog computing. So you hear cloud computing today. So FOG, okay? So you can Google it, right? Certain companies are already talking about fog computing, okay? So I'm in the cloud business. I've been in this business for 3 or 4 years. If you ask people in the cloud business, the people in the cloud business will tell you that cloud is already a commodity, okay? Cloud is almost obsolete in the next 2 or 3 years, to be very direct with you. The future that's starting to happen is fog computing, FOG. What is fog computing? I'll give you an example, okay? Today, if you go to the cloud, what's the journey? So let's say you're using a cloud in Thailand, right? So for TrueIDC, for example, or you're using a cloud in Singapore. You have to have that data that transfers from here all the way down to Singapore, which is okay. But for certain critical processing, you can't go far distances anymore. So the future that we believe is right now, yes, the microprocessors are not strong enough yet. But eventually, all the telephones, all the devices here can communicate to each other. The use case that they are exploring is at the gas station. Okay? What does that mean? So for example, when you go to say Caltex or Shell or PTT and you fill in your gas, that gas station does have a security measure to make sure that there's no sparks. Okay? All of that is in closed loop environment. Okay? What IoT does is that it can start to connect that device to your cars and so on and so forth as well. But you don't have to go all the way to the cloud now. You're using existing computing power with IoT within your immediate vicinity, your physical vicinity. Okay? So we believe that cloud computing with connectivity, with consumer adoption has led to IoT. The future will be something along the lines of what is being coined today as fog computing. The challenge that brings from a true IDC perspective is one particular thing. Okay? In the past, security in terms of accessibility, integrity, confidential, and so on and so forth, has been protected by physical access. So a data center, for example, you can't get into a data center, right? Or your phone is with you all the time, right? But the way that IoT works now is that it is easy to lose that particular device now. So the key concern right now is your identity that the doctor mentioned, right? Is that how do you know that your identity is no longer being compromised? So the whole thing about being authentic, how do you know, right? So that becomes even a clearer point. But identity is no longer just an IT technical technology focus point. It becomes a requirement to understand how you actually go from offline to online. It is an identity figuration of what you need to focus on. And that is something that we still lack today. Reference point. 2 weeks ago, there was an article that Harvard, so right now it's June, right? So school, obviously, in the West starts around maybe August, September, right? I believe 2 or 3 students that applied into Harvard were recently rejected, right? Because of what they posted in social media about something being very inappropriate, right? And from a government standpoint, anything you post online now can't be used against you in a court of law, or at least in the United States, right? So whatever you do as well from a IoT, you may not have access, for example, to this particular event or a particular site. That is trespassing based on existing laws, right? So what's happening is that your awareness needs to increase with it. So from a society standpoint, not just from a business, enterprise, government regulation, society then must have a better awareness of how to take advantage of technology, not only from an enterprise, business, commercial standpoint, but also from a society standpoint. So I think what IoT does, fundamentally, it's the O2O thing that's happening already. IoT is connecting the offline world with the online world, right? Security is already here, with BlackBerry proving itself to do. We believe that the adoption of these technologies will even be faster. From a company standpoint, you need to understand of how you plan to compete, how you plan to organize. From a university standpoint, how do you start to train our next generation of engineers to be relevant to the new business landscape, right? So that's our perspective from an enterprise strategy standpoint.
Very good point. It's not just the technologies. You have to concern about the use case, many use cases.
May I add that I don't want people to feel that, okay, IoT is scary. It's okay. Because maybe you hear news, you hear about, cases about, okay, IoT devices being insecure, blah, blah, blah. Or like in this cartoon, I don't want you to feel that IoT is not secure, is not good to use. I think we shouldn't blame on the IoT. On one point, you have to know that the network we use today was designed for a computer. The TCP/IP was designed 40 years ago, and the philosophy of the TCP/IP is that it assumes that the edge device is intelligent. That's the main philosophy. The edge device is intelligent, that is computer servers, and the core routers are dumb. You know, they're designed with that perspective. Okay, whatever passing the message in the middle, they don't do much, they don't have to know much. But the computer itself has to be intelligent. That's why if you know the 7-layer OSI, it has to be able to do encryption and everything, representation. And so now we are just adapting that old network or technology with the new IoT device, which is not as intelligent yet. So maybe for computing, that's the way. Maybe you need to have more intelligence at the edge, to be able to use the TCP/IP. And also from the perspective of NECTEC as a research center, we want to facilitate the development of IoT in the country. And that's why the platform that we make is called NetPi. It's a platform for interconnecting devices. And our platform is designed with security as a priority. So we got a lot of feedback that people say, okay, your platform is hard to use because it has so many steps for securing the devices. And we said that is done by design. We make sure that the device connected to the platform has to be authenticated, has to have authorization, and the authorization has to be flexible enough. You have to be able to say not just who has access to this device, but who has access to what data in these devices, something like that. So we try to make the process of creating IoT products or IoT system easy. So normally people creating IoT device from scratch, they would have to type a lot of lines of code to do just one encryption function, and we provide instead we provide library to help them do all the security processes.
So it's a trade-off between the comfortable and security. So we still have time. I want to open the floor. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. Yes, somebody, please pass the microphone. ถามเป็นภาษาไทยก็ได้นะครับ
Hello. Okay. Hello. My name is Walamet from IT1. First, let me thank you for your knowledge sharing and your experience sharing on the IoT and devices and securities. So, from what I see from slide which Dr. Sudsaguan showed, it reminds me of the articles on the internet regarding the pacemaker, which is a device that's installed on your heart to control the heartbeat. The article says that they discovered the vulnerabilities that is critical to the patient who uses it, which can cause the heart to malfunction and cause the patient to die. So, in this point of view, I wish to ask that, do you have any practice or suggestions on how to protect this vulnerability using cloud securities?
Okay, in the medical area, it's very crucial. Any recommend?
Sure, so I'll take a stab at that. So in terms of how does IoT, I guess, maybe improve a pacemaker of the heart, perhaps, if that's the question, right? So my first response, right, my view is, I think fundamentally that's not so much of a technical capability. I think that will be dependent on the insurance company first, right? Okay. Where fundamentally, because that's about adoption, right, fundamentally, right? And adoption will be based on certain industries will have minimum requirements, like the medical space, right? So if you ask any medical doctor today, right, and I'm not a medical expert, every heartbeat, that's capable of any IoT wearable today is actually not certified, right, in terms of the mass market today, right? So it does take your heartbeat, but no medical doctor will take the data, right, from your consumer grade wearable and use that to diagnose you, right? Same thing with the heartbeat pacemaker, right? Is it possible? Yes, right? But it's a balance, right? It's a balance between, from a company standpoint, do we want to make a product like that? And at the same time, again, from a purely business standpoint, right? Is there somebody that's willing to buy that? Does somebody want a pacemaker in their heart to be accessible remotely, right? And at the same time, if that was the case, is the entire ecosystem ready today? Video conference calls have been available for the last maybe 10, 15 years, right? But today, for something that critical, going back to the behavior of human beings, the society-wise, you would prefer to come into the hospital. So I have a friend that lives all the way at Talat, right? He needs to come to Bumrunglat, right, every 3 months for a checkup. Technically, he can do a phone call if they want, but he prefers to do the drive and face-to-face. So I think for certain industries, certain use cases, IoT may not be adopted, right? Both from a combination of the balance of risk from a business standpoint and also from a regulation standpoint. In this case, I think the insurance company would probably not want to insure that person if that person had a potential technical risk to that. At the same time, the patient, unless there's a clear ecosystem, right, probably not. But most likely, what the use case could be is what you see today already, which is in the ICU space, right? So in the hospital, when there's an ICU, the reason they're in ICU or intensive care unit is because all the equipment is in that particular ICU room. It is because the nurses and doctors and specialists are maybe 3-4 meters away in that. So for anything that's that critical, right, maybe you might see something. But I don't think in our point of view, it will be solely dependent on the device. If it's that critical, it will be a combination of the device with certain key specialists that will be with you on that. Not sure if that answers your question, but.
For medical devices is a very huge area. So if you're talking about from the developer perspectives or from user perspective, if you talk about developer, if you're going to put a medical device in your body and even like some, I don't know, sensor, I think there will be some like safety concern, procedures, even like for research. If you want to do something that involve the body, something that injected into your body, you have to pass some ethics committee. That one. So if you're going to launch kind of like that product for like US, maybe you have to be approved by FDA. In Thailand, not different, so you have to be approved by FDA. And that would be concerned on the safety of that product too. So I think, but I think that in terms of security, maybe that, I don't know, in terms, because we're not in the medical committee or something, so it's kind of like, it have to be, I'm not sure that we have regulation on that. If you put a IT, that one from the developer point of view, then if from the user point of view, okay, even we have like some Apple Watch or Fitbit, it's not really accurate. It's not really accurate, but it become a product already, and you buy it 6,000 baht or 300 baht or something, right? But it's not really accurate. You said heartbeat is 90, but actually maybe 100. So we don't know. So I think as long as it's not really something that put into your body, it's okay. Otherwise, it's still too dangerous to put in there. And then even security, maybe, if people want to do that, they have to be like first priority concern.
So just to add to that really quick is a use case that is happening that's outside the body, right, is in the United States. So there's a hospital called the Veterans Hospital, okay, for soldiers that have gone through war, okay? And in the US, it's very interesting. This hospital has a CTO, okay, a Chief Technology Officer. Most hospitals don't have a CTO, okay? The use case that they apply IoT is this. So for some certain patients, right, have Alzheimer's, right? So what happens is that they give them a wearable. And so sometimes these patients forget to eat their medicine, take their medicine. This will remind them, number one. Or number two, from certain severe cases, sometimes the vets or the patients wander off out of their house and they get lost because they forget where they're at, right? This is also a use case that the veteran hospital in the United States is already providing, right? In that case though, the reason that adoption has been successful, going back to what the doctor was saying, is it's a risk tolerance, right? So security, sometimes there's no right or wrong, but how much are you willing to tolerate that? So is the data potentially hackable? Yes. But versus that patient having that data hacked versus him not taking his medications, leading to potentially more severe physical conditions, what is more important, right? So there was always going to be a balance on what you tolerate versus what is an actual security risk, right?
Okay, good question. Any question? Please raise your hand. Yes, please. Please introduce yourselves first. Okay, เดี๋ยวนะครับ เดี๋ยววีคิวกลับมาทีนึงนะครับ
Good afternoon, I'm Naluman from Budget Bureau. I would like to ask for the IoT or Internet of Things. Is there any area except in the daily life we use IoT in the consumption way? But if I think because Thailand is the agricultural country, and any technician or technocrat have thought about the IoT to apply to the agricultural area to helpful for the country. Thank you.
Yes, IoT can help the agriculture industry a lot. For example, we have started to see it's been used in farms, you know the terms called precision farming. Precision farming is where you control the temperature, control the lighting, the brightness, control how much water the plants get. And to be able to control it precisely, you need sensors. You need to sensor to check humidity in the soil. If today the soil is already wet, no need to give water. If today not enough sun, you shine more light. That can be controlled using sensors and IoT devices. And we have seen adoption in melon farms, mushroom farming, some tomato farms, and some sugar cane. Those are the areas that NECTEC have been helping. Yes, and there are new generation of farmers are likely to adopt the technology faster. Yes.
So maybe after the session you can contact Dr. Panita. The next piece, the lady in the front. เชิญครับ
Okay, hello. I am from PAC in IT sector. Okay, I have a question. If our IoT device are attacked by virus or malware, how can we remove all virus or malware from IoT device? Just like we have a car, we drive on the way to somewhere, but now it's defects by malware. My car is not working, it's dangerous. How can we do?
So the question is how to protect, right? Or how to live, to fix. Okay.
So let's split that off, right? So in terms of security tolerance, again, you have to scope it, meaning from a consumer, from enterprise, and from a government standpoint, okay? From a consumer standpoint, if let's say your Apple Watch and so on and so forth does get hacked, there's nothing much you can do about it, to be very honest with you, because it's a consumer product. All you can do is just turn it off, right? But in terms of looking at the different layers of attacks, right? There's only about 4 layers with IoT, right? Number one is your connectivity, right, is flooded like a normal kind of DDoS attack, right? But they're probably not going to do that to bring down your wearable. The likelihood or the benefit of an attacker trying to bring down your Apple Watch versus trying to bring down a data center, they're probably not going to do that, in my perspective, right? Number 2 is that they try to increase the processing utilization of your device to a certain extent. If you have a software that's not usable on that, right? But at the same time, the balance of IoT is that it needs to be connected. So for an attack to continue, it needs to remain online on that. So although conceptually, it appears that there's more vulnerability on wearables, but at the same time, given it's a wearable, there's limited computing power, and by limited computing power, it's not much of an incentive, at least in my perspective, to attack it. Because as soon as you attack it, it goes offline. So as soon as it goes offline, the attack stops anyway, if you see what I mean, right? So that's more the consumer space. In the enterprise space, that's very different. The adoption in enterprise that at least we see already happening in Thailand is in the logistics space. So some of you might have already seen the commercials. There's an insurance company that's already come out, right, with your mobile phone saying how much you drive, and therefore this is how much you pay on that, right? So that's already kind of happening. But in terms of the futuristic hacking into cars and so on and so forth, right? I think again that is something I guess that is already happening. But again, that's a balance as well, right? That's a balance as well, right? On that, right?
I think I would like to make an analogy. So if your car had been, the software on your car have been hacked or have malware, it's just like you're getting sick, you get disease, right? So the best thing is to go to the doctor or probably take some medicine. So you first thing if you want to remove it, you have to know what it is, right? So it's kind of like you have antivirus software, or you have virus, what kind of virus you have, and then you just have to go to your system and then like to see the car doctor that can probably doing on the software and remove it. And that one thing, and then you go to how you protect it. So it depends on the platform of the device that you use. So what kind of platform that you use, and then it depends on how much you can put security on it. So that probably give like straightforward questions.
Okay, we run out of time, and I want to conclude the sessions. So we learned that what kind of the IoT limitation, the challenge for the security of the IoT. So if you're interested in the list of topics, talk to Dr. Sudsaguan. And if you want to do the real implementation, talk to Dr. Panita and Dr.Supparat. So I would like to thank Dr. Sudsaguan, Dr. Panita and Dr.Supparat. Please give a big hand to the panelists.